Evet, alam mo. Gusto ko sa resto. Baka yung sumabit vlog, no? Oo. Yeah.
Absolutely no big deal. We already choose our house soon as my business is blooming. Give me your phone. For most men, the first attempt at monogamy is marriage. You already set yourself up for failure. If you've been doing what you've been doing, and the first time you gonna stop trying to not do that, and try to put all of that energy now in one person, it's gonna be some problems. It's gonna be some problems. And we could put that on God. Black excellence. The term that many use to describe an individual achievement and talent. However, black excellence is way more than just success, way more than an award or trophy. It's about the collective resilience, creativity, and the culture of black people. I'm your host, Ron McIntyre, and I'm here with some fellows who exemplify excellence on the stage. First up, we have one of the brightest young stars in Hollywood. He's an actor, artist, dancer. He's truly a triple threat. And he's also nominated this year for his first NAACP Image Award for his lead role in Child Cowboy Emmett, the one and only. Take it loud. Absolutely, man. We appreciate you being black, man. You having a great year. You having a great year. Next up, we got one of the true OGs of hip-hop. Whether it's his groundbreaking music or his thought-provoking activism, he's always staying ahead of the curve. As an actor, rapper, and Grammy-nominated producer, he leads the culture daily. And he's also the lead actor on Family Business New Orleans, David Banner. Absolutely, man. We appreciate you. Now, last but not least, our last guest is sure to take us to church today. For nearly 30 years, he had the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 16,
European ka?
living rent-free in our heads.
Ha?
He's a father, a husband, and without a doubt,
Ilan ka busy ka?
the gospel artist
Yalda.
of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our
Uko?
honor to welcome the one and only, the Kirk Franklin.
Ulo hay dorpas.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you being here. This means a lot.
David hala dito sa klase.
Talk about everything,
Sup?
you know, love, legacy, you name it. But Kirk, I want to come to you because I feel like the black excellence with this thing that we're talking about today. You feel like black excellence has to be directly tied to success. You've been very active in the past saying how with a certain level of success comes a certain level of trauma. I want you to kind of dive deep into that, explain why you feel that way, and guys, I get you to chime in as well.
Any level of success also has a certain degree of trauma to it. It's because there's a cost to it. There is a emotional, spiritual, physiological cost of the sacrifice that it takes to get it from the dirt. That when people say they come from the mud, you have no idea that as you begin to peel that off, what the layer of that person really is. It's because the most greatest are always the most in the room, the most insecure. It's because you always have it to live your life vulnerable. You know, think about it, it takes so much to be able to have a dream and to have the boldness and the wherewithal and to step out there and to even see if the dream comes into something that is really tangible. Yeah. And so that level of sacrifice and work and vulnerability, not only do you suffer from that and have to sacrifice from that, those connected to your wife, your children, your relatives, because you're gone all the time, you're sleeping, we're dreamers. Dreams wake us up in the middle of the night. Dreams make you get up from the dinner table and say, baby, give me a minute, I gotta put this on my phone. Dreams are innovative. Dreams are disruptive. That's why dreamers are disruptive. And so, if you're not willing to have that type of investment and the willingness to be able to be on that type of cross every day, then you really are always going to be having that position of wishing. And anything that you're not willing to die for is not something that you'll ever see there.
That's a hard one. I don't know.
Oh man, just growing and coming from a city like Milwaukee, where I'm from, I got a chance to when I'm filming in Chicago, I drive back up every now and then just to drive through those neighborhoods and where I grew up and man, it's come a long way. You know what I mean? So it's definitely those sacrifices you have to make. And the friendship groups I had during a certain time, I outgrew them. You know what I mean? Because of the mindsets. You know what I mean? And nobody really understands what it takes to say, hey, I can't go out to the club tonight. I gotta work on these lines, or I gotta rehearse these songs. You know, and some people can take that personally. You know, as you grow, and they're like, oh, you feel like you being better than me. I'm like, no, I'm really just trying to lock in on what I'm doing. So it's no one really talks about that isolation process a bit. You know what I mean? Especially filming a show like The Shy, and we filming 6 to 8 months out the year, and depending on how heavy the content is, I am in that apartment. You know, 90% of the time. You know, and then I'm on set that 10%, and I'm just locking in and I'm knocking those scenes out. But no one sees that time I'm just in the gym, in the house, on set, and to a restaurant, and, you know, making sure I'm back home at a certain time. So I may not be able to kick it like my peers, the rest of my peers do. So it's those sacrifices are real, you know, and it gets lonely sometimes. You know, that's when you gotta pray and lock in and just be thankful that this is what I asked for, you know, and be accepting of the new circles that you're coming across as you grow, because the people you're supposed to meet will be at those destinations. You'll meet those like-minded individuals. You know, your castmates and your colleagues, they become your friends because they follow their dreams as well. They understand what that takes. So yeah, it's a big deal.
Nah, that's good. Nah, for sure, man. You know, saying like this is what I asked for at home, because it's like, you know, right, like we aspire to get this level of excellence. With that comes the sacrifices that you guys are making. So like, I'm curious, like, how are you carrying, like, you know, the trauma that goes within the success of excellence?
I want to say something first. Kirk, I was going to wait until we were off camera, but I think it's paramount that us as men, that we salute each other. Brother, especially you coming from the gospel realm, you've opened yourself up and literally got naked in front of people and showing them some of the things, some of the mistakes that you made in the past. It's not only hard to do as a man, it's not only hard to do as a celebrity, but to do that in the gospel world, knowing that how our people have a tendency to be so judgmental. I remember I did a song with Mary, and things that people said about me, bro. I was like, if I was a man who wasn't strong in my spiritual convictions, you would have made me never want to go in anybody's church ever. Wow. So for you as a man to show these children that I make mistakes, I'm still making mistakes, but you can make it through, continue, bro, that means so much. Wow. You know, that's more gangster than anything that any of us can rap about. But to answer your question directly, man, one of the craziest things that people don't understand, especially when you come from the streets, is that everybody knows you. Everybody has a plan for you. Whether it's somebody on the streets, whether it's the accountant, whether it's the lawyer, they're ready for you. You know, if you think about the music industry as a whole, the executives get older. And it's the same ones over and over again. But they keep us getting younger and younger and younger. And it's not necessarily a talent thing. I think we're all equally as talented. But they want to go and get people who know less so they have a longer amount of time to take advantage of. So one of the hardest things is not knowing the true intent of people who come up to you each and every day. And people are coming, you know, over and over again, all the time, especially when you have a heart. I think it's a little bit easier for people who don't have a heart in the first place. You know what I'm saying? But those of us who are empaths and who are open and really trying to make the world a better place, we actually care, you know? And so for me, it's just really finding a common ground with God. And one of the things I want to tell all of you all is being okay with being alone. Because that's when you hear God's voice anyway. That's when you really get a chance to see the texture of your personality, of your spirit, of your soul. I've seen some things with myself that I wasn't necessarily happy with. But that alone time gave me an opportunity to become a better man. So when I step out in the world, I'm stronger in my conviction in who I am.
I need to do that.
Yeah. And like Brian, I'll probably be switching numbers and talk. But like really talk for real. You know, Ali Sadiq, the comedian, he taught me something that was so powerful. I met him and I was like, bro, let's exchange numbers. He was like, man, I'm not like the rest of them. You're not gonna call me. Don't say that to me. Like, my word is my bond. And that meant a lot to me because I realized that I'm not like the rest of them. So I'm gonna be a bond. I stand for something. Morals mean something to me. My people mean something to me. So I can't hang with everybody. And I found myself lowering who I was so I could be comfortable with other people. But what I realized, if I'm comfortable with God, I'm comfortable anywhere I go.
Dave, I don't know your age, but I would love to know if that's something that we're all talking about in this space that at times has been traumatic for me. This creative space of whether it's the platform or the season of creation and trying to create a study, this process of isolation, being alone, being by yourself. I have found that in my journey, sometimes it is traumatizing. It's because when you're writing, you're by yourself. You're trying to create, you're by yourself. When you're trying to go through the spiritual process, you're by yourself. And you look up, and sometimes you spend a lot of time by yourself. How have y'all been able to manage? Because I've seen it to be traumatic for me at times. Have you found it to be traumatic for you sometimes in your life? Just that isolation that comes along with this. Sometimes you don't want it, but it is the reality of what it is.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to love it. You know, at first it was like, cause I'm a family man. I come from a big family, and it was becoming weird to create them boundaries. To say, hey, nobody comes to my house with me. You know what I mean? It just is. I'll meet family or other people at certain spots. We can designate a place to meet, but my home became a sacred place for me. You know, and I started to enjoy it. And then as I grew spiritually and grew in my spirit, like I started to really feel who I was inviting over, and like, nah, I can't have this. Because everything around me it matters, you know? If somebody's fighting or somebody's doing something they ain't supposed to be doing, it's all gonna come back to me. And I've managed to keep my name clean, I've managed to stay out of trouble, and sometimes that trouble can just be a circle, you know, and you don't even know until something pop off. You know what I mean? So it's important that who I'm dating, when I'm out and about, I stopped going to clubs. I don't even take club dates no more. Like I just was like, I don't feel like I'm growing. I'm drinking. I'm partying with women. I don't even, you know what I mean? It became a space for me. I just felt like I was becoming stagnant. So I'm like, I only like to do stuff like this, speak to the youth, speak to my peers, and I just knew that was a sacrifice I needed to make, not only in my personal life, but my career, and just like, which helped my personal life, because I can actually sit here, we working, but it's like, man, I can actually come here and it's therapeutic. And I can go back home and be like, man, that was dope today. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big thing for me. So it started off traumatic, but I think anything on the other side of trauma is bliss, blessing. You know? I think I need this time. I need this time to be single and alone, enjoy my home, enjoy the fruits of my labor. You think I've been working since I was 8 years old, 28. You know what I'm saying? So I've always had that natural heart to share my experience, share my trips, share the way I travel, share the way I buy things and I move. But everybody, everybody can't come. You know what I mean? You can't bring everybody with you. It's a real saying. So I think it's important to analyze that and have that discernment. To say, hey, this time I actually really need to focus on me. And so I can build that family one day. And so I can have the right, I'm listening to God to choose the right wife, to choose you know what I mean? And all those things. So, and at a long time, it's something we skip. It's something we skip all the time because culture is pushing marriage, culture is pushing relationships, but no one's preaching singleness and spending time with God. You know what I mean? So it's important for me to marry in that. You know?
Well, I've always been a little bit strange.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I was listening to hip hop in Mississippi before they was playing it on the radio. Like, I was in Mississippi listening to Mentorship, that's the son. Like, my friends would always be like that. He'll go off, he'll come back. You know what I'm saying? I've always been by myself. But what happened was, I got sick about 4 or 5 years ago, people didn't even notice we got really, really sick. They never find out what, they still haven't found out what was wrong with me, right? And I looked up and realized they didn't have children and didn't have a lot of sustainable relationships. And it bothered me only because I thought that I wanted what other people wanted. But what I had before was real peace. And it's something that, you know, it took me a while to realize, like, if you truly, people say that they believe in God, but if you really believe in God, why do you keep it? And if you really, really, really like God, like literally put you on his, her, or his lap, and you knew it, you didn't even need that faith component. Because that's what really is the problem, is in our loneliness sometimes our faith. And we don't know it and we don't connect it to that. It's actually bouncing back and forth because we start wanting some of the things of the world. But spiritually, think how powerful it is when we don't really need nobody but ourselves. The other thing that I want to say is, because I think we should give these kids some things to help them, instead of just talking about the problem, I just told you. If loneliness is a problem, then schedule your friends like you schedule a visit with you. Schedule time with your mother the same way you schedule going to see that lawyer. I told him, bro, if you got your friends, put them in the book. Put them in your phone the same way you prioritize other things. When I started prioritizing my mental health, when I started saying no and being okay with it, some of that loneliness went away because I put time into relationships. See, we get lonely, but we don't want to do the work to get people to come to you. So I had to open up. I had to go out a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? I had to actually find out. This is something I wanted to talk about later in the show, but I think it fits here. Is part of the problem, the reason why we get angry at people, the reason why we hate on people, the reason why we're lonely, because we really don't know what we want. How can God bless you with anything if you don't even know what you want? So if you're lonely, then you have to be okay with giving up some of that time that you may spend in the studio and you may spend with those lines if it means that much to you. Invest in it and it'll come back to you. You know, I went and found my college friend. My mother told me that. My friend Andre in DC, she's like, that boy is good. He's a good dude. You're not going to find many people like him for the rest of your life. And so I literally,
I think it's no thing to talk about. It's college friends, we got a rap, and they just drop down and y'all let y'all know that he's had a higher
I want to circle back first to what you were saying earlier when we were talking about kids and sacrifices. How do you balance the guilt that comes with the accident? Right? We're pursuing our careers, all of you guys are also sexual. I have a 7-year-old man. I'm back and forth from North Carolina to Atlanta. One of my biggest issues is the guilt, the time I'm missing. You know, I know things are going well for me and it's going to provide for my family, but it's time that's going to be missed out when it comes to my child, when it comes to my mother, when it comes to all my family members. How do you guys balance the guilt when it comes to chasing what you're chasing?
One thing that I think that is a great sense of peace that I learned when I was 26 years old is because I don't have a mother yet. So, you know, I was adopted by a 64-year-old woman when I was 4, and she was a widow. She had a 4th grade education. So I never had a man in my life to point to me. It wasn't until I became older and I started seeking out, like David said, I started seeking out men that had the ingredients of what I aspired to be. And so when I first got married, and because when I got married, we were already a blended family. I had a son when I was 18, 10 years before we got married. She had a daughter when she was 19, so I adopted her daughter when we got married, and so we got married with kids. And I started traveling automatically. Well, my career was already being blessed, you know, by the time I got married, you know, God was already blessing my career and everything. And I had that conviction and I had that guilt. And one of the greatest words that I ever received that I can pass on to y'all is that God is not only orchestrating your life, he's orchestrating the lives of those around you. And he's not only your father, he's their father too. So when God calls you to something, he's also put the seed of calling in them as well. So if God has wired you to have a very abnormal career that has a very abnormal spaces, he's wired them as well. That seed is in them as well. As long as you are doing God's work, God will take care of your family. I've seen it. I have 4 children. I mean, Tammy and I had 2 kids together after we got married. 4 kids. I had 4 kids. And I've seen, now it does not mean that my kids or my wife or my or other people related to me don't have any level of trouble with me being gone, missing some games, not being able to be at everything. No, I'm not going to say that at all, because I've seen certain things that have been traumatic for my kids. Like I have one son who has always had a problem with every time that we go somewhere to the mall or whatever, and it goes stop for a picture. It's like you see it over his face, like, and he's had a hard time to the point that I got another phone. You know what I'm saying? I had 2 phones, one for the pub and one anyway. I got a second phone to show him that when I'm with him, I'm gonna lead the business. And I saw his spirit right now. It's like, okay, this is the phone that's for you and mom. And he's like, okay. So you can take that. But when you are called to something and you have the heart to want to make God great, God is going to equip everybody around you with that same seed. Because he's not only your daddy, he's their daddy too.
That's real. That's real. Second with Dave, I get you to chime in on that. How you guys come balancing the guilt that comes with excellence?
I don't know, I got a different perspective as I'm growing. It's just, as I'm growing, I don't view it as guilt no more. It's just like David said, it's when God pushing you on your journey, you can't be afraid to take that alone time, because it's going to lead to abundance. It's going to lead to the things you want. You know what I mean? And it's going to lead you to the people you're supposed to be around, the friendships you're supposed to have, the relationships you're supposed to have. And sometimes that process in that season, it can feel lonely, but you know what's to come, because God has always shown me that he's always going to bless me. He's always pushing me towards the right thing for me. And I used to wear it, and I started therapy last year, and thank you.
Block nose giving you nightmares? Trust eating agent joint blockage. Most spots in 25 seconds. Lasts long for up to 12 hours. Eating agent, generations of family care. Try eating agent Arrow for a comfortable breathing experience. Eating agent Arrow unblocks the nose frost.
Looking for a great car insurance deal? Get a quote and see how little you could pay.
Perfetto. Come on, Brad. Perfetto. Beh, it's not just perfect, it's perfetto.
Up to US $50,000 credit line.
Hadiah tumaga.
Enjoy flexible payment terms. Factory direct sourcing. Free up cash flow. Pay in 30 or 60 days.
Yeah, start therapy.
I love it.
Yeah, and just, I got a very spiritual grandfather, always giving me a word, and it's always making me feel good, like making me feel like I'm in the right place, like you're not in the wrong place, and that's got that guilt off me, and I always just try to encourage some of my friends to lock in on what God is telling them, because everybody's journey is different. Everybody's like, what you going? Where you going? I'm like, hey, where I'm going, hey, it's just for me. But when you going, it's just for you. I can't come where you're going. You know what I mean? So, and then once we all lock in, it's all gonna make sense. We all can link up, and now we fighting for the bill of the rest. Now we can take that trip together. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, bro, let's go to Cabo, man. Let's take a guy's trip. Let's go over and have fun and bask in the fruits of our labor. So it's just that season of you gotta just keep trusting God. I think that's the biggest thing I can say right now.
For sure. I received that because 2 years ago I was kind of at a standstill. I was struggling with work here at BT. My boss right there, Richard Taylor, she just came on and she transitioned with me. She was like, I believe in you. we're gonna make this transition. So I was living in North Carolina, trying to kind of figure out my way. I was being a full-time dad, I'm still trying to pursue my career, and things just weren't going the way I thought it was. So, BET Awards year before last, I made a decision. I was like, yo, I'm putting my house on the market. I'm gonna sell my house, move to Atlanta, buy a house out here, and I'm gonna really be all in and try to really go get this shit. Sold my house on the market for like a month, sold it, went and found a house immediately down here. I actually closed on the house while we were shooting episode 2 down here last season. And the rest of the history, been out here, year now, season 2, we started with a pilot. But to the point I received that, it's like, yo, it's gonna be some good that come with that, there's gonna be some sacrifices made, but it's like when you understand and realize that it's a bigger purpose, you got something that you're chasing, it's rolling in life and it's leaving. So when I moved down here, there was no guarantee that this show was gonna be brilliant for a second season, there was no guarantee things were gonna go the way it's going, but I believed in myself, I believed in Brett, I believed in the people here, and I went and rolled the dice. So I received that, I didn't hear that, but I think sometimes you question yourself, it's like, am I making the right decision? And you worry about how it's gonna affect everybody around you. My son, he did kind of struggle. I know this attitude started taking when I was, I'd be going for coming back. But now, he's making Arnold twice. He's done much better. He loves coming to Atlanta, so he's in a better place. So I wasn't worried about that. And it always ends up working out the way it's supposed.
We tell her, he's not worried. We tell her. It's an attack. It's almost sex.
No, please. First of all, so I commend you for having the heart of the Father for your son. I want to commend you for that because it also, see, God can use anybody if you got that heart. All it takes is a good heart. You ain't got to be perfect, just got to have a good heart. But what I love about your generation, and I'm hearing you with the freedom of it because again, I am OG here on the couch. They can't sit all the way back on the couch. That's correlation on a lot of that. But I don't know for my own father. Is that what I love about y'all is the freedom that I hang up to. Remember, I came from a generation that a lot of the guilt is also the subtext of religion. See, religion, rules without relationship leads to rebellion. And it's birthed out of religion. Because see, religion doesn't build any relationship. Religion is laid before you the rules. And so, this is wrong, do this, do that. And so, when you are not like the freedom that you have about, that don't feel good. I don't feel dignity. A lot of times when you are raised in these religious spaces, it can be birthed out of guilt. Like in my generation, one of the biggest, and Dave, you may have heard this come from the South, community from the South, is that, there was a time even church evangelism was come to Jesus so you don't go to hell. Am I lying?
That's what I was about to say.
That's what I'm about to say. That's a hell of a way to start a relationship. Marry me because I'm pregnant. That's a horrible, like, that's not being built on love, it's like fear, and so, like, nobody should get married just because, like, they're not being legitimate relationships, but they're always legitimate children. And so that child is going to be blessed whether you understand it or not. You know what I'm saying? You don't get married feeling like you're supposed to be going under God. Like, God ain't going to teach you if you don't fail. I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, are you happy? He was like, no, I'm not really. He said, with the lights on, you're fed, your mama got straight in the house. He said, I was peace. So I started learning that as far as the guilt, I go to my therapy, I sit down, talk on the couch, and repeat.
Morgen aber crazy too.
And a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
especially black people that's disconnected from the history, from their true spirituality, what we naturally were as human beings on this earth, we're still trying to relearn. And some of the stuff that we learned, it's lies, and they're wrong. That's why I was telling you, I'm so proud of you saying some of the stuff that you saying, bro, it's bold, and it's breaking all of that muck that we have on us. Most of that trauma was passed down from our parents and from older people who didn't know better. They gave us the best that they possibly could have, but that don't mean that it's right. Yeah. That doesn't mean that it's right. Okay, so you're in college in New York, he's a rapper who's raised after mom and dad. That's why. I'm not for that stuff. And then, just to highlight, bro, do you realize
Mickey Mouse boy, weer de ster ook een nieuw wijstuk
all
in.
people have different ages.
Klopt.
And we all are in, right now, consistent care. I think that is something that is a powerful method to just take a time out of this that we've all been beneficiaries of stepping out of our comfort zone and opening up that boundary because black men going to therapy is still an area of taboo. It's still a great of vulnerability, especially when you come to faith-based spaces because, you know, the program is you can pray everything away. And so to be able to celebrate that, I commend you because I'm older than you. I commend you for doing that. I commend you for doing that. I commend you. I celebrate and I'm so proud to listen to two men who have their hand in the pulse for the culture and the next generation. Also be able to say that I'm still a work in progress and I'm a doctor that can't do surgery on myself. And I think that is something I just want to highlight and celebrate. I don't know if you started that journey, but you tried. I didn't. So I think that's the point of the story. I really did a lot of things being there, being in a comment. And it's been like that, you ready? Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah, that's all it is.
And that's the bravery that I'm talking about. Not only are you brave enough to talk about it amongst men, but you're talking about it amongst the world.
Yeah.
That's not easy
At all. At all.
in real time, especially what's going on in the world now.
Yeah.
It's to be a part.
For sure, and I think just to double back on that, like, you know, we had an issue so last episode, and he's a big advocate for mental health, and he spoke about a lot of times black men, we think our mental health response because nothing is currently going on, right? You're like, oh, well, I'm not really going through nothing right now, so I'm good. It's like, are you really taking the time, like, telling us to think about, like, how you're getting through the day, things that make you tick. You talk about being angry, how to calm down that after fear. Like, are you taking that time to tell them? So a lot of us, you don't. You think, like, all right, well, ain't nothing bad going on there, everything good, my lady good, everything cool. It's like, have you really taken time to dive deep into that? To share an example on my mom, like, 18, first week of college. For me, at that time, my mom was trying to get me good, and I'm like, like, as men, we think, like, nah, I'm good, I'm gonna just push through, I'm good, I don't really need that. But I noticed years down the line how I'm still dealing with trauma when I have this one. I'm still dealing with, like, fear, abandonment, simple things I was dealing with, like, acting out as a parent and as a worker at the time with my son's mom. Things I was kind of like dealing with, I had to unpack because I still was just putting everything inside. It's like, all right, my baby's all good, my grandma got good, I've been doing the school thing, I'm going on my career, but I'm good, I'm going to continue to pursue. But that's coming out of anger, right? That's coming out of how I'm acting, that's coming out of how I'm talking to people, that's coming out of how I'm treating my Lord, right? And it shows.
So even you being brave enough to sit here and talk about what you've been through, to let these kids know. And I know for me as a black man from Mississippi, my mentor told me, she's like, man, do you talk to your friends about the stuff that you talk to me about? I was like, don't say. He said, well, you don't have friends. He said, go on, open up and talk to your friends. He said, just try it now. And I called 4 of my friends. It was like they had been waiting on me. You know what I'm saying? In the streets, we just talk to show no weakness to nobody. And so we carry all of this stuff on us, this backpack, and we don't have these places, especially since you like to say, therapy isn't something that's common. So where do you actually really get to download this stuff? So the fact that you're taking this stuff now, man, and you're able to talk about it, and maybe the reason why you went through some of the stuff that you went through is so that you can be a conduit to allow other people to come through that. We always talk about sacrifices and different people in religion sacrifice. That may just be your sacrifice to the world. Be grateful for your strength. Mine.
In every type of race, a memory race, relief is in our roots. With your Cadbury favorites now available as limited edition slabs, you get the best of both worlds.
Finding reliable suppliers for our store is so frustrating. The sourcing tools out there are just not cutting it.
Wait, have you tried this new thing called Axio? It's a global sourcing AI. I told it my product spec, and boom, it found me verified suppliers in seconds.
It does all that automatically?
Exactly. It's like having a co-founder who knows every supplier and trend globally. And it drafts up an inquiry automatically based on my sourcing needs. Try it out. Get the app now.
everybody's talking about the black family unit. And, you know, the charities that kind of come up with that. I'm curious, like, give you guys take on the family dynamic. I know you have had a non-traditional upbringing when it comes to family unit, so I'll come to you first and just how black families kind of set up, you know, for excellence for kids.
Well, I think that the most important thing is to have boundaries that are specific and intentional within the framework of the home that you guys do. Is that a lot of times within our community, we sometimes feel the pressure to acquiesce to the patterns and systems of what other people do in their homes. It's that, you know, for example, there was a period of time within the black culture that whenever was said in those local churches and local communities, those things permeated and dictated how people maneuvered in their homes. Like whatever the pastor said, that voice of that pastor was even louder than the daddy in the house. And so that in itself is problematic, you know, because that father, by God's grace, is to be the head shepherd of the house. And so I think that the most important thing that a mother, a father, or a dual home is to always lead with honesty. That when your child is of age, and in the years of age, I think that it's because I was in your space, and I can tell you the things that I did wrong. When I had a son when I was 18, and the reason why there was so much conflict between his mother and I is that I was too young to realize that the weekend birthday party, go to the park, go to Six Flags, dad that I was not a full-time job. That the full-time job of raising that child was falling upon her. And the lack of sensitivity and grace that I should have been giving her is what I missed because I was so consumed with what I thought I was missing. But the full-time job of raising that child and that she'll have something else set up is that most of that's going to fall upon the mother of that child. And to give that individual grace, and I'm not talking about grace with money, I'm talking about I appreciate you. Thank you. How can I return the favor? You let me move to Atlanta to fulfill my dream. Anything I can do, anything I can pray for you. There's a level of honor and respect that we can do better just as men of color when it comes to these positions that really, we're really setting ourselves up for success. That a woman is wired to reciprocate. She's wired to reciprocate. When you glorify her, when you praise her, when you lift her up, you have to ask the woman to reciprocate. You're putting her in a position that she is built by God's grace. Because remember, she's the first gift that we can ever have, right? You know, God gifted us that we celebrate. So when you have a situation where there is a child not raised in a home, that you're together, when you show the love and the gratitude and the appreciation, and you want it to be reciprocal, you are setting not only yourself up in that dual relationship, but you're setting that child up to it. Because that child is watching this. That child is feeling this. And I unfortunately did not do that when I was there. I created an environment of chaos. And it was on me because I'm the. And so, and again, I didn't have that model, but still I have to own when I come to the reality of my mistakes, I got to own it. And that's a mistake that I made. And so I would encourage any man is that you must be intentional to create an environment where the woman is celebrated and the children watching it. And lead with honesty. Something David said that is so profound that I think has sometimes done more harm in our community is that we have allowed our elders to sometimes make us think that their word was automatically their word because of their age. You can be an old fool.
Some of the stuff that our great-grandparents went through, we're still dealing with some of that pain, you know, in our genetic code, bro. So again, being patient with ourselves, bro, and again, what you all say, man, you get the best with what you have. And we do own it, but I have a tendency of punishing myself. You know, I believe we shouldn't punish ourselves. We own it, like you said, and then moving forward, we'll do the best we possibly can to do it.
I come from a big family. My mom and my pop, we work together. I never seen them be romantic, but I definitely had like, I seen my mom and pop work together. My grandfather and my grandmother been together for 40 plus years. So I seen both sides. You know, I seen a little bit of drama, and I seen just what long-lasting marriage is like as well. You know, and I think for me, I owe it to myself to make sure that when I'm ready, or when I want something like that I'm honest about where I'm at. Like today I can be honest. When I go out on a date and I say, hey, you know what? I'm actually not ready for children. I putting those hard questions out there early. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, and I can look like Shakira. I can look like your husband. You know what I mean? And I just want to make sure that I'm being honest with myself to say, hey, you know what, Jake, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Why are you doing it? You know what I mean? You don't even have a vision for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? On relationship. You know you're supposed to be at home, learning you, reading, in therapy, whatever. So I have to always constantly check myself because, it's just like, you're young, I got access, and I'm going to family, I see it, but in this season right now, I have to constantly remind myself, hey, right now it's about you. It's about you, and it's about taking trips, solo trips. If you want to go on a trip, go. I no girl got to go with me. You know what I'm saying? At this point in my life, so I just make sure that I'm just constantly checking myself so that I am doing myself, my future family a good service. And so when I decide to do something like that, I'm in a healthy space to cultivate and grow. You know?
How old are you?
28.
See, and I think that with all of the negative narratives that they have for that generation, I can honestly say that I hear a level of strength that we didn't have. And in my generation, if I was 25 or 20, 28, and you're single and have a level of success, the community, the culture, the church would have been pushing you need to get married and fill this house with kids. That in itself is a pressure that I'm sitting there watching this young boy saying, I'm enjoying my home. I'm being honest about, hey, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. Where that level of freedom, I have to say that it is it's very admirable, but it is very new. It's very new for me. Like you're giving me the new information process. It's because I had never been in a culture or in a generation where thinking about yourself first was even something, but yet the point once again, it would have called selfish. It would have been called self-centered. Where these labels or the deconstruction of it is something that I'm very proud to see their generation have. I think it's good for their mental health. And I think it's very good for them to not have to pursue God and the things of God from a place of fear, but from a place of love and freedom. And I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely. Now, 28 years old. We got somebody who's been married a year longer than you've been alive. 29th anniversary. Yeah. And she just recently celebrated being married, man. Yeah. How does it be the 29 years today?
Well, first of all, I'm happy. It comes with mountains. Don't believe the filters. You know what I mean? The filters on the ground don't really give the real picture of what it is. Yeah. And so it has come with mountains. It's come with valleys. It's come with the rubs. And I celebrate Tammy. She's an amazing woman. She is the salt of it. Really, she's a beautiful and given her parents are the same. Just beautiful people. And once again, I come from the mud, so she came from a whole other world, and so we fought different, argued different, you know, and so, you know, it's that process, you know, and she's a great friend. But at the same time, I'm also wanting to let people know that no other individual should ever be your goals. That the goal that should always be your goal is what God has put in front of you. Because so many people make the mistake of marriage and relationship, trying to feel that they are not complete if they don't have the pictures that they scroll and see. And it is so unfair to your process. It's so unfair to your other person. It's so unfair to you to mirror what you think of the picture because you don't know the hell you don't know the hell I take her. And so it is very important for you to paint the picture that God wants you to have with your person. Paint your own picture.
Als er een klas met die duivel gekomen, bruiloft.
Hoe zeg?
Ik wil met zo'n bruiloft in klas met die duivel.
Draai. Waan toe.
Wat is dat?
Oh, water is dat. Het klinkt zo, je gaat nou ergens heen.
So you know, for example, I came in as David, first one, and I was 6'2", and when he came in, he saw me, he was wearing this pony.
But also too, I think I want to circle back. Obviously, man, with Tammy, your wife, great woman. I think it's clear to say, she makes you better. And I think that's what you should strive for in a relationship. Have a woman that just makes you better. Just give your flowers to your wife. 29 years.
She is everything that I aspire to be. And I am not anything close to who she is. She is a pillar of God's heart, God's life. She's an incredible. She would be an incredible woman without me. She's an incredible woman. And I'm grateful for the investments and the deposits that she's made in my life. And who she has been, not only to me, but to the kingdom. Just to the kingdom. When I look at my children are full of the things that are good. And I have to point to them up. I have to point, I have beautiful children. Even my first son, she's always called a bonus son. I mean, everything that I saw her invest in him, she took my son as her own. And when I would be on tour, when I would be gone, she's in there working with him through DDD and working through trying to help get him the help he needs and his homework and his food at the convention. And it's like I could trust my firstborn with him because I knew she had the heart of a mother. Yeah, that's who she is. That's who she is, man. Tammy is she's such a
Gewoon prijzen voor ons.
Jo, ja, nee, maar dat is verkeerd doen. Je nog iets verkeerd doen nog. Prijs je vrouw zo, waar prijs je?
I didn't see a thing until I saw Tammy's family. I didn't grow up Christmas and gifts and all that. I didn't, once again, I didn't have mamas and daddies, and so to watch Tammy comes from a big family. Tammy got 7 siblings. 7 year-olds.
Oh, Tammy, yo.
Sorry.
I just asked him to pray for him that everybody's living prayer and stand. And she's just an incredible woman that deserves every rose that the earth can ever provide.
Kurt, what I love about you, man.
Yes, it is Turbo Pixel. It is, man.
It's
a great machine.
Heavy in church, you got actions that you just holy and now. But I always appreciate you like, hey, you really just want to die. You know what I'm saying? You really just want to live, but you come jerked out. Your wife is jerked out. You say you're cook on the church. Acting like the whole church got that is hilarious. You know what I mean? But I love that, man. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why you've been raised by the culture. Just speak to because you're still a man, you're still a woman. Like y'all can be a relatable couple. I think sometimes
you know, I would love for my brother to jump in and just how they deal with their relationships because, you know, I don't, you know, once again, I like to echo David, you know, just because I may have been married for a long time, it does not mean that I got it figured out. It does not mean that I have all the lessons and all the answers. I don't. It's because life is constantly changing. And, you know, for example, you know, now Tam and I are going through the process of empty nesting. We got married with kids.
Was lang hoor die water.
We did a tradition. She was out of town.
Voor een 10 meter.
Our engagement, you know. So now we are living now by ourselves. And it's a whole another level of
When God builds a man, he doesn't do it in a moment.
Shaken with millions of prizes with the
Clyde just went to the bathroom quickly, taking a leak. He will be back in a few minutes, guys. Turbo Pixel.
unreal deals.
It's an awesome machine.
With $10,000 credits and $3,000
I think the guys from Ava, because I had an Ava, the same motor, 9,000 RPM, and it's the exact same. Only the body differs, but the machine in the battery pack, great battery pack, great machine.
I had to look at it for the long term because I wasn't going to give up on it. So I had to say, okay, this year I'm going to get better at it. Next year, this, and so forth and so on. And then patiently I was able to catch it.
The first question I want to ask you, because so much of your content right now that you're creating here at Gravity is aimed at helping young people.
Als Dave nog bij zijn kloon over zo nog. Dave kloon over zo.
What's the biggest thing you learned about yourself by being a father?
You know, it's amazing. When we become a parent, things become much more, when life becomes, lines things up for you a little differently. Right? Like before you have kids, me and my wife, we travel anytime, you know, there's work, you become very, you have a very clear focus. When you have children, it becomes about them. It's not about you guys anymore. Right? And so that shift, it's a big one. You know, it's one of kind of selfishness together, and then you being absolutely selfish and doing anything you can for your kids. And so what I'm trying to do is create content to teach them, first and foremost. That's why I started this whole thing, just reading stories to them that I felt like didn't exist. You know, our kids are athletes, and they love reading about princesses and all these fairy tales. And, you know, they get a little sick and tired about the man saving the princess every time. You know, the same old stuff, magical wands and all that. These are athletes, man. They want to learn about soccer balls and basketball and volleyballs and, you know, magic that comes from that.
Yeah, and I love that you're encouraging young people to think more imaginatively about sports.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you go a step deeper. You know, for me, observing you and learning about you and hearing you speak in other interviews and everything, what I'm fascinated by is that you've dealt with things in life pretty head on. Right? You've always gone at it. What took you a while? What was something in your life that you were shy about originally, or that took you a while to go head on with, but then finally you got there and you figured it out?
Writing your basketball, that was a hard jump, you know, because I'd written before. I mean, I started writing probably about 17 years ago. So practicing every day. A lot of things that I wrote were ads. And so when you write an ad, nobody looks up who wrote the ad, right? You kind of, there's a certain anonymity that comes along with that, right? But writing your basketball was different. You know, it's putting it out there for the world to see. It's trying to create a short film. And I didn't know if I could do it, man. And, you know, it was my daughter who kind of put things in perspective for me. Gianna, she's now 13, and she was like, well, you always tell us to go for it. So, yeah, she put me on the spot. She was like, you want to talk about it? You know me about it, basically. You know, and that gave me the final push.
I love that. When you started writing 17 years ago, did you envision that one day you would move into this sort of thing?
No.
Or did you something you enjoy?
No, man. It's something I enjoyed. And I enjoyed writing ads. It was something funny about trying to distill a message down to 30 seconds or a minute, depending on the budget. You know, trying to say something important, trying to speak to the, you know, brand attributes, but also speak to something that's greater and that has a stronger message, stronger philosophical message, and how do you connect those dots? So putting that puzzle together was something that was really intriguing. But like, you know, I never thought I'd be writing novels or movies and that sort of stuff. Never, man.
I love that, man. I love it how everything evolves naturally. And actually hearing you say that reminds me. So my vision when I was sharing earlier became very clearly making wisdom go viral. And I was like, how do I take these teachings that are like so sacred, they're hidden away in these books, and how do I make them really relevant and accessible and practical to the whole world? Because I know that anyone can access them. They're universal, right? These teachings can apply to anyone, but sometimes they're just hidden away. And a young person doesn't know how to find them. So that inspires me hearing that.
That's beautiful too, because especially in today's world, there's so much clutter. You know, it becomes harder for kids to try to weed through a lot of the crap that's out there to find stuff that's actually beneficial for them.
Yeah, I think you remind me, I think E.O. Wilson said, we're drowning in information, starving for wisdom.
Right? Sure.
Especially, that's why I think your work is cutting through, because I think what you've managed to do with your new work is that you're finding ways to connect with what people care about, but you're taking it a step deeper.
Yeah.
Right? You're not just setting, let's talk about sports. It's not just about sports.
Right. It's about the metaphor that sports has for life. I mean, you know, sports is the greatest metaphor we have in terms of dealing with life. Because, you know, even if you listen to music will give you guidance, right? That you can then meditate on and think about how you would apply it. In sports, you have to apply it in the here and now. When you're faced with challenges moment to moment, you're faced with pressure and anxiety, communication or the lack thereof, and all sorts of stuff. Like, it's in the moment, so you have to live it. And when you practice those things, you become better at it. But I just feel like in this day and age, our children have become less imaginative about how to problem solve. And parents and coaches have become more directive in trying to mandate or give orders or teach kids how to think and teach kids how to behave versus tell them how to behave versus teach them how to behave. And so that's why I'm bringing these stories,
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so true. When you treat people as kids, then they always be kids.
Right.
Even when they grow up.
Yeah.
And for you, it's really powerful because you talked about this before, when your father said to you, like, whether you score 0 or 60, like, I love you.
Yeah.
Tell me what that statement meant to you at that time, and how did it actually motivate you to continue scoring 60 rather than go, oh, I'm all right at 0?
Well, I think more than that, right? So, like, the basketball stuff speaks for itself in terms of what that comment made, did for me, in terms of giving me stability and giving me confidence to say, okay, it's okay to fail, because you're going to be loved no matter what. And that doesn't just mean basketball, that means anything in life. That means writing, that means being an entrepreneur, that means having the confidence to go for it. And I've seen too many parents do the exact opposite. It terrifies children, and children become paralyzed by their own fear because they don't have that security blanket of love and comfort.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you been able to, in your life, see past the cloud of emotion to actually execute on things? Because I think what we were speaking about earlier, this challenge that young people have today, everyone has today, of just so much information, so much cloud of emotion, so many feelings, so much childhood baggage that you're bringing. Like, how have you always cut through that and execute it?
You know, what I try to do is just try to be still and understand that things come and go, emotions come and go. The important thing is to accept them all, to embrace them all, and then you can choose to do with them what you want versus being controlled by emotion. You know, a lot of times I've seen players, even myself, when I was younger, being consumed by a particular fear. And to the point where you're saying, okay, nah, it's not good to feel fear. I shouldn't be nervous in a situation like that. And it does nothing but grow. Versus stepping back and saying, yeah, I am nervous about the situation. Yeah, I am fearful about the situation. Well, what am I afraid of? And then you kind of unpack it. And then it gives you the ability to look at really what it is, which is nothing more than your imagination running its course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Because what you're saying is that when you're dealing with something, it's almost like, how can I get to the root of it?
Yeah.
Because sometimes what we're dealing with, like you're saying, it's an imagination and illusion. It's not really,
it's not really a thing. Yeah. You know, like you think about game-winning shots or game-winning free throws. People go to the free throw line and they're nervous about it. Well, what are you really nervous about? If you unpack that, okay, you're nervous that you're going to miss the shot. All right, so you miss the shot, then what happens? People are going to be embarrassed. You're going to be embarrassed because thousands of people, millions of people see you miss the shot. All right, and then what? People are going to talk bad about you. Okay, right? And so you look at it and go, are those things even important? You know what I mean? If that is my fear, like what is, you worried about letting your teammates down? Okay, have you let them down before? Oh, I'm sure. The practice and things of that nature, right? They're still there, you know? And so when you're able to unpack it, you kind of look at it for what it is, what you really know.
Yeah, I love that, breaking it down. I think that's so important. I think everyone who's listening and watching right now, next time you're facing a fear, next time you're going against something, do that. And literally unpack it. Don't just settle for your first answer, because the first answer is rarely the right answer.
Don't hide from it. You know, you gotta be able to look at it and, you know, and deal with it head on.
Yeah, I love that, man. And you talk about it, because you talk about, you know, when you talk about missing 5 throws, you talk about getting over yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like getting over yourself. How did you get that mentality of being like, I need to get over this. Like, I need to get over myself.
You know, trial and error. When you grow up and you make game-winning shots and it's awesome. You come back the next day and you miss a game-winning shot and it's misery. And then the next day comes and you're back playing again. You understand that life has a cyclical nature where it's, you know, what you do on Monday is fantastic, and then Tuesday is a bad day, but guess what? There's Wednesday. Yeah. So are we just supposed to live our life like this the whole time? You know, I mean, versus just staying like this and understanding that it's really just a journey of evolution every day. It's just constant improvement, constant curiosity, constantly getting better. The results don't really matter. It's the figuring out that matters.
Yeah, and we all get obsessed about the result.
Yeah.
Like, we get obsessed about like the output, not the input, not figuring it out, not like changing things. We used to trial and error, like the experimenting.
Yeah.
You forget to do that.
It's unfortunate. Now, like, I've seen a lot of players, especially now, you know, in youth basketball and with that. You have players that are like bigger, faster, stronger, and you know their coaches are just coaching them for results. You know, we're just going to use your size because you're bigger than every other 12-year-old out there to dominate today. But they're not growing, right? So they're just based on that result. They're not focused on growing this young child into becoming a better athlete. And through that, teaching them how to become a more well-rounded person. And we're missing that.
Yeah. See what you said there, I want to ask you this, and I'm not saying because you know, like, you know yourself best and you know how you thought that, so I'm asking it from a place of humility and learning. When I look at you, I'm like, you know, your superpower isn't just your work ethic, your superpower isn't just like figuring things out. Your superpower is that you think strategically. Like, that's a very strategic thought of saying, this person could be this in the future if they were developed as a whole individual, rather than just like, let's use them for the short term.
Right.
Where did you develop that from, that ability to see beyond, to think deeper, to reflect deeper? Where did that come from?
Well, I had to do that because, you know, I growing up in Italy. When I first moved over there, it was, you know, I didn't speak Italian, I didn't have any friends. You know, I had to get over basketball and through sport and playing soccer, I was able to make friends and build connections. There was a lot of time spent alone. And when I came back to the States, I wasn't the most athletic kid. You know, I was really strong, like really skinny, and had like major knee issues because I was growing. So I was a dorky kid with high socks and big old knee pads.
Fashionable now.
It's fashionable now. It wasn't then. And so I had to look long term because in the here and now, I couldn't compete with these kids. Man, there's kids that were like 12 years old with beards. What am I supposed to do with that? Like they're doing windmills and dunking backwards, and I'm happy to like tap the backboard, you know. So I had to look at it from a long term because I wasn't going to give up on anything. So I had to say, okay, this year we're going to get better at that. Next year, this, and so forth and so on. And then patiently, I was able to catch it.
Yeah, I love hearing that because I think so many of us kind of, we believe like when you see people like yourself, it's like, it's so easy as an excuse to ourselves, just, oh, you're destined for it, right? You were made for it. Kind of like that, kind of, you know, like, you know, but when you talk about saying, oh, see, when I started, I didn't have the physicality that meant I was going to make it. You have to figure it out.
You have to figure it out, man. It's just piece by piece, and it's the consistency of the work, which I feel like a lot of parents are missing today because we're not teaching that to our kids. We tend to say like kids don't want to do the work, but in reality, it's us when we're failing them because we're not leading them the right way and teaching them how to fish, you know what I mean? And so like the consistency of work, Monday, get better. Tuesday, get better. Wednesday, get better, right? And you do that over a period of time, you know, not like 1 month or 2 months. I mean, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and then you get to really work well.
Yeah, I think Bill Gates was thinking about that. He talks about like we overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years.
No doubt.
Right? It's like that, you know.
No doubt.
Like I think everyone thinks about what can I do right now? How can I make it happen? But like with you, I think people always ask you also like, you know, how do you deal with losing or failure? What I'm intrigued by is how someone like you deals with winning. Because you've won again and again. And like I was saying earlier, you won, obviously you know, you've won in basketball big as an athlete. You're winning now, even in the work you're doing here as a storyteller, as a producer, right? It's amazing to see so many incredible awards coming through. How have you dealt with winning? Like when you win, what goes through your mind to help you to continue?
Well, it's a little different. Like in basketball, it's different because I expected to win. You know, like I expected us to win championships. I expected us to win 5. But honestly, I expected us to win 8. And so when you have that vision in sports, it's a direct competition. Like I know how hard they're working. I know how hard we're working. I know what their strategy is. I know what ours is. You know, so it's a little different. So when we win in the NBA, it was like, yeah, we expected to do that, but now we're going to come back and we're going to do it again. You know, and so it's that constant like, all right, return. You won 1 championship. I'm back in the gym the next day, working, getting ready for the next one. Now it's different because it's not about the awards. You know, you just wind up trying to create something that's going to inspire someone. That hopefully that inspiration can inspire somebody else. And what I've come to learn as my career went on is that's more significant than any championship. Is how do you connect with somebody that can then connect with another? And then whether the awards come or not, you know, that's for the academy body to decide. But you know, like for us, it's just to try to create things.
Yeah. Well, I guess now that's what shifted. That now the intention isn't even expecting to win; it's expecting to change lives.
Right.
Like your content is really about making a difference and an impact in young people's lives.
Sure.
Which I think is like the biggest way of winning.
I think so. I mean, you know, we're looking at 62% of young children are dropping out of sports. 62%, and they cite the fact that it's not fun anymore. But what does that tell them? I mean, that's telling us as grown-ups are getting in the way. Get out the way. Let these kids be imaginative. Which, you know, like in our stories, it's important that, yeah, there's a fantasy nature to it, right? But it's rooted in reality. We have fire-breathing winged horses, things of that nature. Those are actual drills that are taking place. We don't have fire-breathing horses actually perform that, but we do have ball machines that are spitting balls at tennis players, right? And so all of our stories are all anchors in the element of truth, so that children feel like when they are doing these drills with these ball machines, they can envision maybe it's a fire-breathing winged horse.
Yeah, to keep them excited.
Yeah, they can envision Gus throwing fireball at them.
Yeah.
And even the plays, like the Wizard Arts, when the basket is opening up and shrinking. These are things that we experience as athletes. Like some days I feel like I can't make a shot, man. The basket feels like the size of a keyhole. You know? And other days it looks like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well,
that's magic. And so we root our magic in reality so that when kids experience these things, particularly the failure side of it, they can connect it to one of our stories and say, okay, I've seen this before, I know how to do this.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I love that. That analogy of like feeling the basket bigger or smaller, and then being able to vision that, I can vision it right now. It's so right, like some days it is huge. And I love that. That's such a great way to think about it. And I guess so much of this is from your real life vision.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is like some days.
I've experienced it.
Yeah. But I love that because it's also giving them the permission to say like, be imaginative about this, right?
Yeah.
And that obviously gives so much. I think when we imagine, it changes the reality of, oh, I'm just sitting out here taking shots, right? Which can get boring and tiring. Mechanical, that's what it's
yeah, of course. Like our job is to try to inspire the creativity inside of our children so that they can think through how to problem solve situations. So like, when I coach my daughters, it's not about giving them answers. It's about asking questions and getting them to process things. Right? When the game is being played, I'm not sitting there giving them answers or barking out things on the sideline. I sit down and I'm quiet. My assistant coach sits there and she's quiet. And the kids figure things out for themselves, but they don't. And then they come back and there's always questions. And then you kind of ask them more questions and you help them figure it out. But then you see their level of excitement to practice every day increase. Because it's a process that they are on. Right? They're not coming to get orders barked at them every day. They're coming for kind of their personal quest to get better.
Yeah. And how do you do it with you coaching? I guess that style makes them feel comfortable, but how have you been able to manage that with the pressure of you being there?
No, there's no pressure because, it's their process to own. Like I have knowledge and information that I've gained, through playing. So like the little details of things I can teach at a high level. But ultimately it's them.
Yeah, you seem very still and detached about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kids love playing basketball, so that's the anchor of it all. They come and they play and they learn and they have fun, and they compete, they challenge themselves and one another, and it just gets better every day.
Yeah. How have you seen that obviously with Legacy and the Queen, you chose tennis?
Yeah.
Like what was the choice of sports about? I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah.
Why tennis?
Yeah, so like the first novel we did with the Wizard Art series, it was important for that to be basketball because I wanted the first story to be one of empathy and compassion. And in team sports, if you don't have that, you can't win. Right? So it was important to tell the tale of the basketball team dealing with their own personal fears and have those fears and insecurities lead to empathy and compassion for others. Right? With the second story, I wanted to look more internal, individually, and look at how you deal with the inner challenges, the kind of the self-negotiation that takes place inside of our own heads. And there was no sport better than that in tennis. There's golf. But tennis, you have more movement, which to me symbolizes life in general, because life there's a lot going on, right? There's the elements in tennis that you have to deal with as you deal with the golf, maybe not to the same extent, but they're still there. And then there's the confrontation with the person across the net with you, right? As well as the strengths and weaknesses in your own movements and how you feel in your own body. And because of that, it was important for this story to be finished.
I love that. That makes complete sense. And give me an example of that self-negotiation. I love that word, and I get that. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, like you're out running on the track, working out, and you start talking to yourself.
Så de runder gedeelte bly traine inkenne.
Maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I need to back off. Man, my lungs are burning. Maybe I can just slow down here. I'll do like an extra 2 sets tomorrow. It'll be okay. Right? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that stuff's dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's when you just gotta say, you know what? I'm not negotiating with myself.
Yeah.
The deal was already made. The deal was made. When I set out at the beginning of the summer and said, this is the training plan I'm doing, I signed that contract with myself, I'm doing it. Throughout that process, you'll start talking to yourself like, man, I think I need to, maybe if we, nope.
Take this back to the office. Give your family 24-hour longer-lasting protection with Protect.
Up to US $50,000 credit loan.
Enjoy flexible payment terms. Factory direct sourcing. Free up cash flow. Paying 30 or 60 days.
It's non-negotiable.
And for you, empathy and compassion were things that you've been through. Like that was personally inspired work.
Yeah.
When did it come to your awareness that empathy was something missing for you and that you wanted to develop it?
I had a teammate that spoke to me and said, "Hey, Cole, I just want to feel like as a teammate, you need me." I was like, duh. I can't, Like, that was my immediate reaction. Like, dude, yeah, of course. But I had to kind of think about really what he was saying and where that was coming from for him and his stories and his journey with that man. And that opened my eyes to there's a bigger game being played. It's not just basketball, but it's the emotions of each individual and the backstory that they're carrying with them, the baggage that they're carrying with them. And if I really want to be a champion, to be a great teammate, I have to understand what those mean to help them become better, and in turn, help me.
And do you think this content is going to help, all the content you're creating here at Vanity, is that for you to help build better bonds between parents and kids? Like, are you hoping that the podcast, for example, like, kids are going to listen to it on the way to school or on the way back? Like, how are you imagining people consuming the work?
Yeah, I imagine it in different ways, but like, ultimately people always figure out a way to do it that's comfortable to them, but like, which is why, in everything that we do, we try to create the highest quality of product. Like, people will sit down and tell me and say, okay, well, audiobooks, very small percentage of people listen to audiobooks. You don't really have to invest too much in doing audiobooks. And what? Excuse me? No, because that one person just listens to audiobooks. That one family enjoys audiobooks. They have to get the best experience that I could possibly give them. So that means using them like an orchestra. That means doing full symphonies. That means having permission to shot, reading stories. Like, it means everything. The books themselves. I got this all the time. There's no money in making books, man. Nobody makes money in books. And I'm sorry, you want to make a book with using what material? You know what I'm like? I'm like, yeah, because children matter. So like, I don't know how they're going. I imagine how they're going to be consuming content. But ultimately, it's my responsibility and our responsibility as a studio to make every single thing that we put out the highest quality possible.
Yeah. No, I can imagine parents listening to it on the way to school.
Yeah.
I can imagine listening on the way back or on the way to practice.
Sure.
Things like that.
Sure.
I think it's cool. I think.
Well, computers, for sure. Like computers, I was like, my first day of computers, we're going to release it in the summer. I think we released it in August. I think it was August. But my mind was saying, okay, parents are going to listen to this every Saturday morning. Because I know I'm in the car driving my kids to soccer games and like volleyball games and stuff, so parents can listen to this with their kids in the car as they're driving to sporting events. Like, that was kind of what I had in my mind. And then when it came out, it's like, teachers were using it more so than anybody in classrooms. And doing like classroom reports in the periods and all sorts of stuff. So, no.
It seems like you study life a lot, right? Like when you're talking about all of this imagination that stems from your own work, like, for example, like when you're dealing with empathy and compassion, it's reflected in the content. When you're going through these visualizations, what could this look like, it goes in the content. You study life a lot. What currently are you studying, and what kind of gets your imagination really going right now? What keeps that moving?
There's a certain element of truth in everything, and the creativity generally comes from personal experiences first, and then you kind of look on a broader scope of, okay, how do you take something extremely personal and then channel it in a way for masses to understand and get their arms around, sort of thing. But it always starts in the element of truth, and then you start unpacking that by seeing your father and figuring out like character, who's this person, who's his family, and then that's when I started getting in trouble. Because it's like the questions don't end.
Yeah.
So I have like books and 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 books of backstory, because it's not good enough just to say the characters this way.
Yeah.
Why are they that way? Well, the parents. Well, where do the parents come from? And where did the dad come from? Why are they raising the kid this way? And then, what does that have to do with the economy that's around them? And then you just one thing leads to the next, and then you just write all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think so many of us get, in our lives, we get stuck with imagination. Because you kind of get into that autopilot mode.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing every day, same routine, same drive to work.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel that what you're sharing is, that's easy for anyone to do. It's not like, because you're Brother Brian, you don't feel like everyone gets into that.
Sure.
But you're able to find these creative outlets.
Yeah, well, like creativity is in everything. Like even in the system, like what I found is creativity a lot of times comes from structure.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have those parameters and structures, and within that you can create. But like if you don't have the structure, you're just aimlessly doing stuff.
Yes.
Where are you going? So like having a clear structure of understanding, okay, this morning, like when I was writing a webinar series and outlining legacy, I come in the morning, 7 a.m., and I'm there. I'm writing backstory from 7 to 12, then go pick up my kids, and then I come right back, and I'm writing things. So like within that structure, my mind when I go to sleep is already planning of what the next day is going to be, because I know, what it is I have to do, that consistency in structure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm writing my first book right now.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people have been asking me, like, and I'm like, I have a very scheduled focus on writing.
Yeah.
They'll be like, how do you find inspiration at that time? What if you're not inspired at that time? And I'm like, no, the structure helps spontaneity.
Yeah.
Right? It's that consistency that leads to creativity.
Well, that's the thing too, like people think like you just kind of rolling along, and all of a sudden, aha! Like the show that we have on ESPN now called Detail, basketball, sports breakdown show. That came to me when I was walking around with my wife shopping.
Yeah.
And I look at a piece of fabric and I'm like, wow, this is really the detail. And this thing is, detail. It's the name of the show. And then everything came from there. But I had been thinking about a show like that for like a year. Like I couldn't shake it loose. I'm like, I gotta find a sports show that I'm going to do, but it can't just be basketball focused, it has to be broader. And I want to hear from the best minds in the world. I want to be man, I want to hear from, what is it? For like a year. And then all of a sudden, boom. And so people think it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You gotta like obsess over it for a while, and then it kind of pops you.
Absolutely, and you have to plant the seed well before to see the fruit.
Yeah, and you gotta water it all the time. It's like you gotta sit down and watch other shows that are out there, and like, and then ultimately you just find, like the answer comes, and you're like, my God, I could have thought out the first day. Remember John Williams told me, he said, don't sit for like 2 months to try to figure out what the melody is. And he'll just be playing this, so he'll be at his piano all day, and so the only thing he'll take off is Sunday, because his wife wants him to take Sundays off. And he'll just be sitting there, I'm like, and then it just comes, and he's like, I seriously could have thought of that on the first day. Like, why? It's just so simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what people don't realize as well. Like when you go out and you're shopping with your wife, and you see the detail, and you're like, okay, that's the show. And then you go back into consistency to create it.
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't just like, now I thought I'm just going to throw that idea, but now I'm going back to the drawing board, have the name now, do it around.
What I try to do is shoot the idea down. Figure out everything that's wrong with the idea.
Ooh, okay.
Right? This show won't work because, like detail for example, like this show won't work because it's not for fans. It's for the 1% athlete. Alright? Well, we're just successful people connect to it. Like, you start unpacking every little thing. How do we shoot it? Can I even get the money to do it? Can I get it? And you start shooting them down. Same thing with the novels, like characters and plots and stories. It doesn't make any sense. No. Here's why. Wow. And I felt like that really helps me.
Yeah, I like that approach a lot actually, because I think sometimes, especially right now in the world, we go to the wishful thinking stuff. Like you have a concept vision, and you're like, this is how it's going to turn out.
Right.
And then you ignore the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Or you to break them down and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's just like the same thing for any great movie. You have to have the antagonist.
Yeah.
You know, a strong villainous character to really drive the narrative along. You don't have that. You have nothing from which your hero has to bounce off of. You know, that villain could be Maleficent. It could be something inside of you. It could be whatever, but you have to have that clear antagonist that's driving the narrative forward. So, in this is the same thing. You pick apart the negative from that, you can then move forward.
Absolutely. What I'm loving here right now is that what I'm hearing is like code story. Like I'm loving it. Like, what I feel is like what I'm hearing about is your obsession and obsessiveness with stories. And it's not just like, you know, and I'm sharing this because you've really studied stories, that you've really broken them down and understood. Tell me about where that obsession comes from in general, like how you find obsessiveness and how you apply that to stories.
Yeah, obsessiveness just comes from something that you love. Like you really love it,
Bener.
you fire for it. You know, you go through ups and downs with it. And you just do that. You love it so much.
Hello?
And so when you started a long
Ah,
time
zo.
ago, I had a
Is
great
ook maar hoor.
She explained the art of storytelling my sophomore year. And that's where I started falling in love with it and understanding what story structure, how to develop compelling characters, and how stories are the driving force, whether inspiration or information, that really change society.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're defined by the stories you tell us.
Yeah.
Whether personally or outside.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it seems that you just mentioned that it just shows the role of teachers. And now when you find that teachers are using the work they're creating to teach, that must be amazing.
It comes full circle.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's a pretty cool feeling, man. Like growing up, when I was in high school, man, I didn't read much at all.
Yeah.
You know, because basketball was my thing. Now, if you give me a basketball book, or like a sports book, or like a sports psych book, or I'm devouring that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a clear focus for me, which kind of gets me to this market a little bit too, because like for our active children that love being outdoors and playing all the time, they're not reading.
No.
But they're missing out so much by not reading. But they will read if there's something that they feel like it's not a bucket. It's the new Hilux Legend 55.
Give me your phone. Hey, honey. You keep checking your phone these days. Are you cheating on me?
Absolutely no, baby. We are going to change our house soon as my business is blooming.
Give me your phone.
Now do you believe? I just upload a photo of any home seller and type, find similar to this at factory direct prices. Boom, 90% of the work done.
That's amazing. And so are you, my love. So 2025's ultimate guide to passive income.
Speaks to them. So, you know, and so now I think we get more readers in the world because of it. Hopefully.
No, I think so. I agree with you. Like for me, and this is why everyone's different, and I think there's such a need for what you're doing, because when I was growing up, I never enjoyed fiction. And so I thought I didn't like reading because all the books that the school suggested were fiction.
Right.
And then when I was 14, my dad handed me an autobiography and a biography. I devoured it, and then I started reading because I was like, I want to hear about real people who break and develop and learn and grow, and like I've been through failure, and like I want to hear about rags to riches, and I want to hear about real people who went through real pain.
That's right.
But I grew up believing that I didn't like reading.
Right.
And I think you're so right. I think there's a lot of kids out there who think they don't like reading, or they've been reading in boredom.
It's a problem because like what I found in the industry, which is why we self-publish. Because a lot of the publishers want to publish the same type of story. You know, the same type of plots, same looking characters, not a lot of diverse characters out there at all. And so we said, you know what, we're not going to do this on our own. This way we don't have anybody in our way telling us what the market wants to hear. I don't care about that. We write stories that come from the heart. And our characters are going to look like my daughters. My daughters don't have characters out there that look like them.
It's a great one.
So they're going to look like my kids. And we're going to go from there.
Yeah, I think what you just read there about diversity and representation is huge.
Huge, man. Huge. Because I don't see it, man. Like,
Love it.
so,
That's it.
books is the first thing.
En dan moet nog omgaan, hè.
Now if you look at animation, animation's even worse. It's even worse, in terms of developing characters, diverse characters, but even beyond that, the animators themselves, there's no diversity in that industry.
Right.
None. And I'm talking not just racial diversity, but gender diversity as well. And so there are a lot of things that we need to take on that we are taking on, and hopefully make the world and the industry a better place because of it.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I'm a British Indian, right? Born and raised in London, never seen any character anywhere.
Right, because they think, the mass market, it's not the mass market, so we're not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and everything's spreading so fast now, everything's global now.
Yeah.
Right? Nearly all content is global now, and most global markets are growing everywhere. So the need for people, especially young people, being able to see themselves in characters. And it's not, and I think it's a deeper point that you're making, is you want to be able to see your story in something, right? Even just beyond like color and background, it's like your story, your experience of life.
We made it basketball, we got a lot of pushback from people. Like, I took it to some very prominent studios at first, and they all said, because you said basketball is too sports specific, nobody's going to connect with this sort of thing, because there's a lot of people out there who don't watch basketball, and I'm like, well, that's not the point.
Yeah, that's not
the point. And so it was really a case study, even with our novels, everybody's like, sports novels, I'm not going to read that, it's too much of a niche market. I'm like, sports is bigger than that, man. And so we made their basketball to really prove a point that you don't have to watch basketball at all to connect to the journey of a dream. And once we saw that connection, it's kind of validated our point of view.
I think that's a massive point of view. And for anyone who's listening or watching right now who thinks because Kobe Bryant wants to do something, it just happens. It just shows you have to do it yourself sometimes because not everyone's going to believe in you.
Certainly not. Certainly not. And what you'll see is, once you start doing it, and now people want to come in and jump in, but I'm like, kind of ourselves. So I think we're just going to build it from the ground up ourselves. But thank you.
They saved you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Because you had signed on, just kind of going with the flow.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'd be grateful to that. Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. It was the same with this podcast, funny enough. When we launched, a lot of people were considering whether it was, social media, is it going to work on the podcast, and then we launched one of the biggest podcasts in the world, in the health category, which is my world, and that was just like, everyone was like, oh, interesting. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you so much for saying no, and didn't think it was going to work, because now I figured it out myself.
Yeah.
And what you said, it actually builds confidence and validation.
Oprah told me this when I first decided to build a studio. I was asking how Harpo came to be. She said, well, when she was doing her deal for the Oprah Winfrey show, she was re-upping her deal. And actually the first contract she said, well, don't pay me up front, because I want to own a percentage of the show. And so they gave it to her. Now, at the time, there weren't any black women hosting the daytime talk show, right? So it was really new. And she said, Kobe, if they believed that the show was going to be successful, they wouldn't have given me that. They wouldn't have. In their mind, they're thinking, oh, we got a steal. We don't have to pay her. We can take this money and move it over here. This is great. It's just going to be a flop. And I don't know, we should get diversity on TV. It's fine. And all of a sudden, it's, trouble.
We shouldn't have given it away.
Opened up Pandora's box, right? So now you come back to the next deal, and it's like, I had to give you some more ownership. Dang it, here. And then ultimately, she came to own 100%.
Yeah, which is amazing. Wow, that's a great story. Yeah, that's fascinating. I think, because sometimes when you think that, you're like, oh, they like me, that's what they're doing. No.
Don't like me. Please. Here's an idea. It's terrible. I just need you to buy in just a little bit.
That is awesome. How are you encouraging, you've shared so many stories, like your teacher talking about storytelling and writing earlier, and you shared Oprah's example, like, you've had so many incredible mentors in your life, we all know about that. How are you encouraging young people to find the right mentors, and how can they find the right mentors, even through your work? I guess your work is somewhat mentorship.
We try to do, and I think the important thing is research. The hall here in the office, I have a hall that I call Muse Hall. We have all the portraits of some of our muses here, from J.K. Rowling to Steve Jobs, so forth and so on. I think it's important to research them, and it's like putting fuel in a fire every day. There's constant inspiration. You read about them, what they were able to accomplish, how they went about accomplishing it. You just constantly feeding that flame and learning. And the best way to do that is to learn from the people who have done it.
That just made me so happy. I have a gallery wall in my home. If we were recording this at my place in Hollywood, like I have a gallery wall, Steve Jobs is right there. Right? And Einstein's there, Martin Luther King's there, and there's a few other people. And for me, it's the same thing. It's like sometimes I'm sitting there and I'll be like, what would that person do? Like, how would they have dealt with this challenge? And you're so right. I think you can be mentored by people who aren't alive.
Is it not to be the afternoon?
But their story still lives. Brings us to the importance of storytelling. Their story still lives. These muses are here. It's important to learn from them. And if anything, it helps you remember that they are human just like us.
Yeah.
These great things that they accomplish can be accomplished by others and beyond. Building Walt Disney Company is not something that people look at and scoff at. Oh, it can't be done. Well, why not? Why not?
Yeah. And the more action you take, the more you can do something.
Yeah, because you realize they're people just like us. They made mistakes just like us, and they kept going. And we can do the same.
Well, I could talk to you for hours, but you're a busy man, you got loads of things to do. So we end every interview with what we call a final five, quick fire, rapid fire round, which means you have to answer in one word or one sentence maximum.
Got it.
So this is so the first question is, what brings you the most joy right now?
Family.
Second, what do you want your girls to think when they hear your name?
Daddy.
Nice. Number three, your favorite animated film?
Okay.
Oh, nice. Oh, I was not expecting that.
It's the greatest.
Yeah.
They were in the zone when they made that.
Absolutely. Question number four, the book that's had the biggest impact on you?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. Question number five, the one message to all storytellers would be?
Create the truth.
Beautiful, man. Kobe, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been an honor, man. Thank you. It was such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for sharing so many gems, so many wisdom pieces. And anyone who's out there right now, I've got a copy of the book right here, Legacy and the Queen. You can go grab it, and you can also listen to the podcast, The Peonies, as well right now, so you can go and download that. We'll put the links to both of them in the comment section and in this podcast, so you can go directly there. Kobe, thank you so much for allowing us into your space, man. This is really special.
Thank you.
And we love this. Thank you, man. If you want even more videos just like this one, click on the boxes over here. And if you want to continue seeing these kind of stories, you can subscribe by clicking the link right here.
Shake and win millions of prizes with the AliExpress $1 challenge. Get unreal deals for just $1. Win $10,000 in Black credit and $3,000 AliExpress shopping credit. Download Shake and Win.
Dan was baie werk nie. Dan was baie werk so nie. So, die baie werk die kante.
Was het 'n klein stuk? Want die anders lyk net anders te lê. Sit of try.
Fyn.
That's our Marvin Post, the #1 healthy wellness podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world. Thanks to each
So, dat was die grootste gedeelte van die klok wat jy nou gedoen het.
become happier, healthier, and more healed. And I'm so grateful for this community that we have here because I get to sit down with some of the most incredible minds in the world, people that I find fascinating, not just personally and professionally, but because of the potential and the purpose that they have. Today's guest is someone who has been on my list to interview from day one. So it's a very special moment for me. I'm very excited. I'm speaking with on the one and only Kevin Hart, Hollywood's box office powerhouse, opening 11 films at #1 at the box office and grossing more than $4.23 billion in global revenue. Kevin has also become a successful entrepreneur. He's the chairman of Heartbeat, a global multimedia platform company creating entertainment at the intersection of comedy and culture with a mission to keep the world laughing together. I love that. Kevin is also the founder of Heartbeat Ventures. Kevin is a New York Times bestselling author twice over, and his first Audible original, The Decision, was nominated for an Audio Award for Best Original Audiobook. And I spent my last 5 hikes listening to his new audiobook, Monsters, and How to Tame Them. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to tell Kevin right now because he's sitting in front of me, dude, I have not been that into something for a long, long time, and I'll tell you why. I have not stopped talking about the different monsters, the different personalities to my wife, my team, to my colleagues. You've made it so relevant and accessible to talk about your flawed people in a way that I've never seen before. So thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you.
It's so great to be sitting here.
Thank you. And when flowers are thrown out, I believe that they should sometimes be returned. In this case, that I'm here for a reason. The work that you've done, the success that you've had is groundbreaking. So major congrats to you. I just want to say there's an equal level of appreciation and excitement to the moment, man. You've done some groundbreaking podcasts. Your guests, to how you've got people open up, conversations that you've had. More importantly, the lives that you're saving by just being transparent, authentic, and true who you are. I think it's dope as hell. So it's an honor to sit across from you. I'm excited about the conversation. And it's one that's been on my list as well. So I'm glad that we finally got it worked out before we can make this happen.
Yeah, thank you, man. That's very kind. It's really beautiful hearing that from you, honestly. So let's dive in before we keep going back and forth.
Let's go.
Let's get it, one of the things I want to start off, and this is going to take us anywhere and everywhere, is how does it feel when you're winning and then you discover you've got monsters? Because that's kind of the journey you've been on, and I want to go back and forth in this journey, but I want to start there. Like, what does it feel like when you're winning, you're succeeding, but then you all of a sudden go, I've still got monsters?
When you say and use the word monsters, just for clarity, so people understand, of course, we're talking about the different levels to you, right? And within the levels that I've discovered in myself, of myself, you got your good versions and your bad versions. And the bad versions I refer to as monsters, because they're bad and you don't have good quality. And when you're winning and you're succeeding, there's this idea that everything is right. There's this idea that perfection is going to present itself and life moving forward is going to be just an easy road. And it's not until you're in that position where you expect perfection, you think that you start to see the true problems and flaws really present themselves. And, my monsters have been masked in disguise in various different ways, but I've been able to pinpoint them throughout the years because some of those monsters grew, got stronger, developed. You're talking about the growing of an ego, the idea of who you think you are versus what you are, or the idea of expectations and needs, of what you feel you need and what you have to have. That's a monster that's feeding it, right? That engine of, well, now that I'm making money, this is what I should have, this is how I should look, this is how I'm supposed to be. That's a monster that you're feeding, because ultimately you're buying in to something that you're creating. You're enhancing this world of thought. And it's not till you sit down and you take a breather and you start to really figure out the true definition of happiness for you. You start to really understand the adult that you have grown into and the level of maturity that has now, I guess we say, I think banked inside the human that you are. You're banking so much over years. And ultimately you're shaping and molding yourself into this
this grounded, hopefully, this grounded individual that you're proud to look at in the mirror at the end of the day. I had to get to a place to where I was looking in the mirror and I was proud of what I was looking at. And I was okay with checking myself. I was okay with pointing out my flaws. I was okay with knowing what I do well and what I do wrong. And at the end of the day, there's no consequence to always improving, no consequence to growth. You're in a time now where people almost frown upon the world of growth. I embrace it. I embrace the world of correction. So the monsters and the world of how to tame them came from me understanding the different levels of monsters that presented themselves to me over the years, and me getting them to a point where I put them in a place where I can control them. They're still there, they can rear their head, and I can say sit down. That's not necessary, that's not needed. And I can tell when one is trying to take me back to a place of old. At age 43, it's exciting to know that I've grown from so much, and you know, the war of one is significantly different than when it was. It's really interesting, you use the analogy of like looking in the mirror and being okay with yourself, and when you said that, I was thinking, yeah, when you look in the mirror, there's no trophies. The reflection doesn't show the trophies, the wins, the money, the whatever else, it just shows you you. And the fact that you got the courage to look at that, where do you think, when you track back, I've always been fascinated by memories that we hold from our childhood that have left an imprint that's really strong in our lives, whether it be positive, challenging, whatever it may be. What's a difficult memory from childhood you think that has been the catalyst for so many things in your life? Is there anything that you go back and you're like, I can see how that, and I can turn that into a positive?
I think the biggest memory for me is the one of being complacent. You know, as a child, I wasn't really a kid that embraced the world of challenge, right? I was very complacent. I was okay with being a subpar to low average student, right? I was okay with not trying. I was okay with not giving my all. And I was kind of okay with getting over, right? So the biggest memory that I had in my childhood, like when I got to that early teen years, at 12, at 13, at 14, being sneaky and thinking that you're constantly one-upping someone was that's what I was embracing in myself. Do your homework, I did it. Did you really do your homework? I did it. And you taking my word for it, not checking my homework. Oh, I didn't do it, but you think I did. I got over it. Ultimately, you're slowly cheating yourself over the course of years, and it's not until you get a reality check as to why that work was necessary that you realize you're just not doing what you're supposed to do with your life, right? You're not giving it all. I had a lot of different examples of that. I truly had a mom that made sure that I had, and I didn't take advantage or embrace the real work that she put in until I got to an older age of true understanding. But to be honest, I really threw a lot of those things to the side. The extracurricular activities, the swim teams, the football teams, the basketball teams, the track, the baseball, all these things as a kid, you don't understand your parents are doing to try to provide you with the world opportunity. They're trying to keep you occupied. They're trying to embrace this idea of hard work, effort, activity, engage. They're doing all those things, or all of these things to the kids, or hopefully, right, for their kids, to put their kids in a position to just want, right, want the best